Hi.
Hi.
Also a question for you, Secretary General. My name is Anabela Lajko from the Croatian radio. You have repeatedly stated that Russia is the main threat to NATO and to Europe, of course, understandably. We all understand why. What is your comment, approximation on latest statements from Donald Trump, who said that if necessary he will take military action on Greenland? And I'm just going to read it. Commissioner Kubilius from European Commission has said that EU members are obliged to come to Denmark's assistance under EU treaty if faced with military aggression. And as we know, 23 countries of EU are also members of NATO. Gospodine Plenković, including Croatia, yes. Gospodine Plenković, evo isto vaš komentar, molim na to. Hvala.
Yes, well, on that question, and it is a little bit, I think, repeating my previous reaction, but thank you very much for that important question. And I think what is at core here, and to the core of this question is that we all make that same analysis, and there is no debate or discussion about that. The analysis is sound and is there that when it comes to the High North, the Arctic region, I was myself visiting Iceland only, I think, 6 or 8 weeks ago, and we also extensively discussed this, and I was in Norway and visiting other allies, discussing with the US and with Canada. I was with the Prime Minister Carney last week in Paris discussing the importance of the Arctic. So collectively, as an alliance, and particularly, of course, the southern countries who are bordering on the region, we do make this analysis that the collective defense is crucial. We all see that through changes in weather patterns that sea lanes are opening up. And we have to make sure that we do everything to protect that region. It is a vital part of NATO territory. And that is exactly why, where in the past NATO was not so much involved when it came to the Arctic, that since 2025, on the request by the 7 High North allies who are bordering on the Arctic, that NATO has become more involved. This has led to a few, as I said, very successful discussions within the NATO alliance with our ambassadors in Brussels and our ministers. We discussed this importance, and currently we are working on the next steps to make sure that indeed we collectively protect what is at stake here.
Allow me to add a few words related to Greenland, Denmark, and the signals that have been coming from the US administration. We have been communicating with the Danish government, with Prime Minister Frederiksen. We were in Paris together last week. And this week, according to announcement, there will be a meeting with the State Secretary Rubio. The message of all allies and all EU members is that allies have to respect each other, including the US as the largest NATO member. It is obvious what Secretary General said, that there is some concern for the area of Arctic, which includes Greenland, but I am confident that with discussion we can find a solution that will ensure security for the US, and it will make sure that Greenland is a part of Denmark, although it's not in the EU, but it is clear that it is within the authority of Denmark.
My question goes to Secretary General, but of course, Prime Minister, you're more than welcome to offer your perspective. Secretary General, can you recall a larger internal crisis that NATO has faced than the one the alliance is facing now, with Donald Trump saying we should go to Greenland and, take it? Or do you even see that as an internal crisis? Or is it not a crisis at all? And is the best way of communicating with Mr. Trump and trying to maybe smooth the relationship is the way that you have been using communication so far, which was basically flooding him with compliments and calling him daddy? Thank you.
Yeah, let me start with challenge you a bit on the second part of your question. What I always do is, when people are helpful for the alliance and are doing good stuff, and I believe that Donald Trump is doing the right things for NATO, by encouraging us all to spend more, to equalize this what the US is spending. We had a very successful summit in The Hague, where we decided on the 5% defense spending, including 3.5% on core defense. I'm absolutely convinced without Donald Trump, we would never have had that result at the summit in The Hague. We have now the whole of the alliance on this famous 2%, which we announced in 2014 in Wales. I'm absolutely convinced without Donald Trump, we would not have the whole alliance at this moment on the 2% and now working towards the 3.5%, incredible steps. So when I praise somebody, it is based on facts, and I believe the facts are there. We might disagree, but that is how I see this. As NATO Secretary General, it is my role to make sure that the whole of the alliance is as secure and safe as possible. And I applaud the fact that our colleagues who are bordering on the Arctic have come together, have worked together, and have decided to get NATO more and more involved. This was the discussion in Brussels I referred to in answering a few previous questions. Earlier last year in September and other moments last year when we discussed the High North. And we are now building on that. You've seen some announcements by the Brits and the Germans today. We are working now together to see how we can basically together as an alliance, including our 7 members, our allies bordering on the High North, on the Arctic, to work together to indeed build that next step, which is crucial. That's the United States, that's Canada, that's Iceland, Denmark, and the other European countries bordering on the High North, all 7, but of course with the whole of the alliance. By the way, as we speak, we see Denmark at the moment already speeding up their investments when it comes to defense, not only generally, but also when it comes to unique capabilities to defend territories like Greenland. So they're buying more F-35s, they're working on air-to-air refueling, they have bought these P-8 Boeings, the long-range drones. Billions invested there in American equipment necessary to defend Denmark, NATO, but also territories like Greenland. So we are really working together here. And my only worry is, how do we stay safe against the Russians, against any other adversary? Look at what China is doing in rapidly building up its own armed forces, but also North Koreans and others who might wish us ill, and not well at least. And therefore, that's my role, and I think we will get there.
So no crisis whatsoever?
No, not at all, and I think we are really working in the right direction here.
Pa pratimo ovu situaciju, mislim da smo kao odgovorna saveznica NATO.
Yes, we are a responsible NATO member, and we are very serious in taking over commitments and meeting the commitments. Politically, we have already, I've already commented on your question, so such a huge transformation that we are seeing is a step forward in terms of spending for defense, and this was unthinkable a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, some NATO members never imagined spending more than 2%, and now the situation is different because the circumstances have changed in the past several years. And we were complacent, too complacent, and we had to snap out of it. Today, we have to rely on our own forces. We need to be interoperable. We need to create conditions with our allies to make sure that those who want to destabilize the world have the smallest possible maneuvering space.